The theme was in an unspoken letter. This is the J.R. Hendricks, Texan Gentleman podcast that deals with the early life of my alter ego, J.R. Hendricks. This episode is in a narrated format, commentary by myself and J.R. Relax and enjoy the adventure. Take care. God bless. This podcast is done in loving memory of my actual birth father, James Anthony Hendricks Sr., who was born June 10th, 1951, and who died February 14th of 2021. The title of this episode is called VIP Rider Go Home. We're airing it on the 22nd of February, 2024, juxtaposed to February 22nd, 2016. But actually the 23rd of February. Please forgive me, guys. My brain is kind of in fart mode, so that's why JR is going to be taking over. And he was going to be on reassignment one more week, but I asked him to come over and help me do the bulk of the episode. All right, now this episode is called VIP Writer Go Home. All right, you'll soon tell by the trailer. Oh my God, Kristen. That's a letter. It's from John Henry. He checked out, all right. All right, Brent. I promise you, if you help me with this Zondervan poll, I'd ask Christine out. Asking you to be patient. Kristen, you're gonna make me cry. I'm asking you to give me some patience. I'm just 3 months getting over Karen Crider. I want away from D.C. That place is full of liars and fools. And there we go. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting turn of events, so to speak, if you will. All right. So, I'm going to ask people to be patient. Okay, here we go. So wrong file. So now in the morning of the 17th, okay, and it's like 1 a.m., and Elizabeth Marie is hunkered down at the Odessa University College, under the demands of an austere Dr. Danny Larson. And Danny Larson's about to get what's coming here. Indeed he does. He had told her that she had to complete her thesis by March 1st, or he would fail her and make her repeat her senior year. Okay, so it's 7 a.m. Eastern. Arlington, Virginia. as a keynote speaker for Reverend Isaiah Friedman's political rally. Okay, Jim's speaking about Congressman Bill Hume. Obviously, what it is, he's questioning Congressman's record and voting record. That the congressman was still cross-dressing at fraternity parties, especially if he's on weekends. And at both parties, he would get drunk and high. Doesn't sound like too much of a good record for a congressman. Not to mention this is episodic. We all know the episode Father, Father Let Me Down. We find out what type of person the congressman is. And it's the summer before but this is your insight, Gerald. In the summer of 94, he threw some party in his room. And the sort he hung around with was all about drugs, sex, and rock and roll. He would pretend to be straight around me, but Daddy knew deep down what was his problem. Okay, so Jim's announced that humans had more far wrestling record. He proclaims to be a libertarian, but Gerald's dad saying, hey, he's more communist than the libertarian. Okay, so it's 11 a.m. Back to 14 Heritage Gate. And Jim is getting a massage after a 3-hour rally in Arlington, Virginia. He wasn't done yet. He had David Rosenberg set him up a rally in Rochester, New York. Okay, so not sure what this. Okay, we'll figure it out. Okay, so it's the 17th. But obviously, we switch over, I guess, to the next day. And in the Oval Office, okay, no. This is the same day. President Clinton's meeting in the office with his, special aide, Alexander Irons. And she rushed over, she gives him hugs. Mr. President, how the hell are you? And Bill's like, and then the president's like, don't ask. Hillary asked me to send some down. Latest thing. Speech. Damn domestic policy team can't seem to get off their butts. And okay, so Alexandra is really sitting beside him. She's tapping and said, Mr. Hendricks, you have him angry. You really have him angry. And Jim said, him going after the legitimacy of my legislation gives me a migraine headache. President Clinton said, what else do you know? And she said, He's angry as hell. Ellen told me he asked for a leave of absence for about 3 weeks. Said he was angry at the administration, at the SBA. Letting the administrator of the FBA, letting his wife lead things by the nose. Okay, so the president, he's pounding his fist on the table. Phil don't belong in the SBA. Because of Hillary, I made a stupid mistake. If he gets angry to dig up dirt on Whitewater, and they catch me, Hillary's going down too. And so, Mrs. Irons is sitting next to me and says, "Now, Mr. President, calm down. Just let him keep circling with his tail. And eventually, you can take an axe and cut it off." The president laughed and said, "Dick Morris told me he'll tough it out. I guess I better start paying attention." Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Central. JR is having a snack at the student union with Aunt Donna and Max. And so Aunt Donna, she's like, "Carl had to work again." And she's like, "How's school?" And Gerald's like, "Doing better. I think Daddy has a point about listening to Dr. Harmon." And Max, his cousin Max, says, "Well, he's a narcissist." And Aunt Dawn says, "Dr. Pender in the psychology department says he sees him making a fool of himself on local TV, arguing for the Democrats." Aunt Donna said, "Worse than that, he's been having an affair." JR said, and Aunt Donna's trying to correct him. "JR!" And Mac's like, "Mother, come on." JR's roommate, Kevin McDonald, says he knows what's going on. He teaches classes with her and gets pissed when his wife calls. Okay, and so JR says, "I'm excited to finish this paper so I can focus more on my classes." And so Max said, "You should hang out with Kevin more. Hell, maybe we'll go to more dances at the Wesleyan." And Gerald's like, "No, the Holy Spirit Club, kiddo. Here's praying." Sorry about that. More technical difficulties. And Gerald's like, "The Holy Spirit Club. Here's praying that I finish my senior year strong and get into law school. What are you studying this fall, Max?" And Max says, "Corporate public affairs, like Stony Rosen." And Gerald's like, "Maybe law school in the future?" And Max is like, "I doubt it." Okay, so it's 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Rochester, New York. Jim is stumping with Governor Pataki on behalf of sustainability for small business. He was determined to send the message that Clinton wasn't doing enough to fix the economy. Okay, so now we go to 7 a.m. Central. Cinnamon rolls are for breakfast, and Jared sits down with Connie, Brent, and CB. And Jared's like, "Hey, Connie, did I miss a call from you last night?" And Connie said, "No, I was on a date with Justin." And CB said, "You're back with him?" And she says, "For the time being." "Brent, how's that Zondervan poll going?" And Brent's like, "Great. I have 5 columns to write this week." And JR's like, "Well, Brent, I need to see you this evening to work on my paper. I'll do what you want. I'll even ask Kristen out. You just give me time." Okay, so it's 9 a.m. Eastern. Bethany Assemblies of Christ. Jim and Clara Luss are attending a church, and Reverend Bill Reed is preaching about parents' responsibility to raise their children in righteousness. Jim almost burst out crying. He would refuse to partake of the sacrament and make an appointment for confession to the Reverend. Now, something else you need to know about the Assembly of Christ Church, okay? It's like the Latter-day Saint thing. The Reverend ain't going to forgive your sins. Priest ain't going to forgive your sins. They help you through the repentance process. Yes. Okay, it's 1 p.m. Eastern. Back at 14 Heritage Gate, Jim gets a call from Carol and Jim Stringer. It's inviting to dinner with Constantine Bush, okay? And Clara was going to be dining with a congressman, so he accepts the invitation. Okay, so now it's 2 p.m. Eastern. Jim is watching Raynard News, where the Bob Cooney appeal was coming as a discussion. He was smiling as Claire sat by his side. He wasn't going to pop the bottle of TV of the appeal of a man he grew to despise. 3 p.m. Central. At the library, Brent said goodbye to Jesse for a little bit. And Gerald's like, "Well, you're present. Hope you like it." So J.R. slugs a book at the table. And Brent's like, "The congressional record, why are you giving it to me?" And J.R.'s like, "Because it'll explain everything that's in that Zondervan poll." And he says, "You know, J.R., I only did this to make you king of the year. I know bad. You want to finish this paper. So let's just go." And J.R.'s like, "Help's bring your mama is friends of my uncle." And Brent's like, "What are you talking about?" And J.R.'s like, "I know about this from the beginning. I set you up for success, Brent. I told you that if you helped me with this paper, and I promise to go see Kristen. And I will. You'll see real soon. So now, let's get down to business. Through hamburgers and cokes from Kevin McDonald. They worked for 3 hours on the paper. Okay, so it's 6 p.m. Eastern, and a huge Mexican fair is available at White Castle, the home of Constantine and Hillary Bush. And he's a cousin of George H.W. and George W. And he says, and Hillary Bush says, I hear that Clinton's going after you. Jim said, loved that asado. Trying to get some public policy done, but I keep screwing up. And Constantine Bush says, anytime you need help, I can get you Maine, Florida, and Texas on your side. And Jim said, the wild card is Cordell Wheeler. And Hillary Bush says, well, the wild card's going to be Cordell Wheeler. And Constantine Bush says, I'll get you over this hump. And he says, this way, you can resign in style. Okay, so it's 9 p.m. Central. Okay, Kristen is studying where her cell phone rings. And it's John Henry. Christine, did you think about what we discussed? And she's mad. She's like, I thought I told you to stop calling me. And John Henry's like, not relevant. I found out Tuesday it's faculty day on Midway Press. Get your tutor to take you to Lubbock. Come to Mission Hotel in Lubbock, room 412. I'll have something for you there. Yeah, this is kind of crazy territory. But once again, seriously, what do you expect? Let's see if this is one. Okay, so it's the 19th. It's 10:30 a.m. Central. And jails and organizational behavior. And Professor Sarah Hatfield is giving the group assignments. Now, the past week she had been lecturing on motivation. Now, the group leader was a guy named Mike Michelson, who was studying corporate communications, and their plan was to study problem solving at the Circle J Ranch, the corporate ranch just outside of Lubbock. Okay, so it's 10:53 a.m. Central. JR meets Kristen outside the dorm, okay? I'm outside the business building. Sorry, guys, I got to do some editing, unfortunately. And Kristen's like, you seem so lonely. And you seem so lonely, JR. And she's looking at JR like, please come hang out with me. You're lonely, I'm lonely, It's like, JR's like, please, darling, not now. I'll meet you for a bit this afternoon. Then we'll talk. But now I have to go to the advocacy class. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Central. Elizabeth Marie, okay, she reports to Dr. Danny Larson's office. Okay, now, I want you to picture this. The office, which was once lavish, is replaced with like chairs that would be in a damn film studio. The mahogany desk has been replaced with like a little crude desk, okay? And of course, there's a bottle of wine. Jared, what do you know? Back in the 1990s, when he was placed in charge of an undergraduate Pacific, and particularly a female, around the time the thesis was due, he turned his friendly office into an austere office. Now, if you, in the next episode, you'll see how that all changes. Yeah, we're not going to give the spoiler away, though, Jared. So Elizabeth Marie, she's reporting to Danny Larson, and she says, look, I've been working on this paper for 2 days. You call me in the middle of the night. You tell me to go to the library. Can I just take a break and go home? And Larson loses it, okay? The idiot. And he says, you ungrateful witch. I give you lodging in the upstairs graduate library lounge. I give you plenty of money to eat on. But the least thing you could do is finish this by March 1st. And Elizabeth Marie, it's obvious, she's having a bipolar moment. You are pathetic. What's wrong with my thesis now? And Larson takes out his red pen and he says, well, let's see. Survey results, 24 questions, and 12 of them, these questions are loaded. And Elizabeth Marie said, I'll use the correct methodology that Dr. Blair recommended. I took a good sample of material from questionnaires and the like. And I have case law to boot. All right. Come on. You and I are going to have dinner tonight at the faculty dining hall. Executive decision. Oh, damn it. Oh, sorry. Executive decision, JR. You know what? I never liked this fool anyway. Shaking. Let's give him the bell. Yeah, let's give him the bell. That's pretty idiotic. Okay, so they cut to 2 p.m. Eastern. And Jim he's in the middle of his testimony before the U.S. Senate Small Business Committee and Entrepreneurship. And so a number of Republicans have been asking questions. Okay, up steps this militant senator from Illinois, Simeon Peter. He says, Mr. Hendricks, why are you so determined to cram sustainability for small business when it's current? Only 38 Senate seats are in favor of it, Senator Peterson said. I know your network, sir. Network on Earth, sir. Outside the Senate. At least 500,000. And yet you sit there in the ivory tower knowing that people in small business are suffering, Jim said. You should answer the question, Hendricks. You sit here in the Senate ivory tower, and beforehand, you were a professor of political science at the University of Chicago. Senator Peterson, I admire your guts, but to answer the question, the reason why I want protections for entrepreneurs, it will flood more money into the economy, not just in jobs, but the more value creation, something which the White House forgets. Senator Hutchinson spoke up. Madam Chairwoman, in light of recent information and the seasoned antics of this questioning by Senator Peterson, I would be moved that this testimony and questioning be concluded. And also, one of my staffers, Nancy Ashton, would like to speak to this committee. Okay, and so Senator Meyer, she says, the gentle lady from Tyler, Texas, is now hereby recognized. Okay, and so this towering of a woman, okay, a political lady, she says, my fellow Americans, senators in the committee, and our guests, I am here to speak on behalf of Jim Hendricks, not totally in favor of his policies, but definitely in favor for sustainability for small business. For nearly 3 years, small businesses have been struggling, even failing, at times to thrive. And why? Because this administration is not giving enough meat on the bone. They're expanding lending, credit, and everything. But how feasible is that? They're passing a job protection at some point this year. But do we even know what's in it? I am aware of the late night committee sessions in the House of Representatives last night when Congressman Hume criticized the House, even passing sustainability for small business. And he's trying to get the Senate to block it. Now, how shameful this libertarian is for that if he's not for a free market economy. I don't know what it's like what this gentleman Hendricks does, but at least he has an idea that for Pete's sake, we can do something for this economy. And now I yield my time back to the senator from Texas. And Senator Hutchinson says, Your Honor, I move that this testimony be suspended and concluded. And Senator Blanche Lincoln from Arkansas, she says second. And everyone, all the senators on the committee, minus Senator Peterson, voted to suspend it. Okay, so adjournment takes place. Now, it's 3 p.m. Central, and JR goes, puppy dog eyes, to Nap Hall, knocking on Kristen's door. And JR's like, we can only talk for a little bit. I'm getting picked up at 5. Oh, no, it's Kristen. We can only talk for a little bit. I'm getting picked up at 5 for an Anastar dinner and some phone calls. And Christine and Gerald's like, no, I just came by for a minute. I got, I suppose, some Pepsis and some Hershey Plain. We both like it that way. And Kristen, she's hugging Jared. Like, are you playing around? Or do you really love who wants for me? And Jared's like, I think you know. And she's like, please don't play me, Jared. At least there's several other guys that have tried to ask me out. And Gerald's like, Kristen, I'm trying to fight back tears. And Kristen said, so then you know my plot with Brent Clark. I am trying to get with you. And Gerald's like, you're moving too fast, honey. I lost the chance to marry Jennifer Bowers about a year ago. And then I spent 6 months in Karen Crowder's funhouse. And I got this major paper to work on, so I can graduate from college. I don't need any more stress, honey. And I love you. Can we start by just being friends? So Kristen embraces JR and she's like, Britt told you to ask me out, which is good. Because I'm an self-obsessed lady. I can wait a little longer and develop our friendship. And Gerald's like, I got to leave in about 30 minutes. When I'm gone, why don't you pick up Brent on the phone, tell him to meet you. You won't be bad enough? You're going to have to wait at least until sometime after my paper is done. I'll come see you Thursday, I promise. Okay, so this is where it gets pretty interesting. Okay? Alright. I think this is the one. Yeah, here we go. No, wrong one. It's going to take me some patience to find this. Here we go. Alright, so this is where it gets interesting. JR, what happened the next day was as follows. Daddy canceled his role in the SBA administrative meeting Wednesday. offering to send someone like Carol Stringer instead. Because over dinner with Jack and Lucy Robertson and Scotty Underwood, he had learned that Aunt Eunice had gone to Amarillo to see Grandma Mary and died in her sleep at 4 o'clock on the morning of February 16th, 1996. After notifying Mama, he took himself a flight to Dallas on the morning of the 21st and got into Amarillo on the afternoon, where Uncle Carl, Aunt Donna, and Grandma Mary met him. Memorial services would take place at the Midlothian Assemblies of Christ on February 26th. She was to be buried next to Uncle Robert at his family plot at St. Andrew's Memorial Assemblies of Christ in Lubbock, Texas on March 2nd. Apparently, Aunt Eunice died of a sudden heart attack as part of complications from diabetes. Okay, so it's 6 a.m. Jim is in his hotel suite. Okay, he's packing. He's carrying one personal effect from Aunt Eunice, which is a Celtic cross that she wore in her marriage to her husband, Jim's Uncle Robert. He's like, I hope Betsy don't understand. I hope Betsy does understand. And he reaches down and he looks at his cell phone. Oh, damn. Okay, meanwhile, it's 8 a.m. back at the ranch. Betsy's in the room packing and crying. And she's like, I don't think I can keep waiting for much longer. At the same time, Jim's at the terminal in Amarillo. He's blocking orders on the cell phone to the charter line. I'm sorry, but my son owns this damn charter. I need a jet soon, like today. Okay, so now it's 12 p.m. from his charter jet. Jim texted his wife, you better be damn well on your way. So at the same time, on her jet, Betsy's motions to the pilot, you better take off now. Good to go. Okay, they've been absent from each other for a while, except for like weekends. So they're anticipating a Nancy. So Jim looks at a text from his wife saying that the takeoff was underway and everything was going safely. And he's like, I'll be damned. Come to Papa Betsy. Okay, so now it's 2 p.m. Baton Rouge. Betsy's plane has landed. And Jim's plane is still in the air. But it's not far behind. And Betsy's like, hoping it's here. So Jim's Jet's on the phone. Jim's on the phone with Constantine Bush about how happy he is to see the pretty rest of America. Okay, so the plane lands and he gets out. He's walking slowly through the field. Thank you for calling me out of this. And thank you for getting Claude involved, honey. I had to get out of D.C. That place is full of liars and fools, Jim said. Jim, please calm down, Betsy said, motioning for car service. Please get us out of here. Back to the mansion. Okay, so they climbed into the limo and sit down, buckling up, just as the driver used slams on the accelerator. And Jim said, you should see why, you should know how much you need me, Jim said. Always knew I could count on my swing lady. Let's go chase each other around. It's obvious, okay, for a while, he's tired of playing the field, okay? He wants Betsy. And it's obvious, JR, your mama wanted him. Yes. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. Now, Paul, JR goes to see Kristen outside. And she's like, Polly's going to her grandmother's here on Kerrville. So, you can stay through dinner. And JR's like, let's just get some snacks, like some Hershey's, plain candy, and some Pepsi at the student union. And go to the fountain and sit there and enjoy each other's company. It's a nice warm day, and I know it's hard for you to be out in the cold weather. Okay, so now it's 6:30 p.m., and Jim and Betsy are having dinner with Jack and Lucy. They're having Wednesday dinner with scalloped potatoes with Jack and Lucy Robertson, who had flown in that morning to give condolences to the family. And Jack Robertson says to Jim, how close were you to your Aunt Eunice? And Jim's like, she was my delight. She'd take me to choir practice after church when we moved back to Midland after Daddy tossed us out. And Betsy's crazy, Jim. And Jack Robertson said, no, Betsy, it's okay, let him talk. And Jim said, she helped me fill out my application to SMU because Aunt Esther wasn't interested. Not to mention, she was a nurse. They gave JR his shots. Betsy spoke up. Both his aunts were at his college graduation because his mother couldn't be there because she was working 2 jobs to have Colonel have food on the table. So as soon as he graduated, Jim marched into his mother's house, and demanded that Carl find a job. And they start working at gas stations together. Okay, so it's 7 p.m. in the mansion library at Mary Jane. Jim goes through some Eunice's personal effects that had been mailed to him, that weren't like female stuff. She had been born in Mesquite, Texas, on July 3rd, 1921. She grew up in Midland and was in part raised by an austere Mary and a saintly Esther. After graduating in 1939, she married her husband Robert, and they moved to Provo, Utah, so that they could attend BYU on scholarship. They had 7 children. John, born in 1940, Gretchen, 1942, David, 1944, Bobby, 1946, Eunice, born 1951, and Robert Jr., born March 18th, 1954. The family settled in Amarillo after graduation in 1943, and in 1956, they set up dual residences in Albuquerque and Odessa. When Eunice sold the house in 1980, when Robert died of complications from brain cancer. Okay, so now it's 3 a.m. Jim wakes up crying suddenly, and his phone rings, and it's his uncle. And he says, "Are you still in Washington?" And Uncle Jim says, and Jim's like, "No." Jim's drifting off. But Eunice dead. I can't be a part of the place of liars and fools. Okay, so it's 5 a.m. So at the airport, Betsy's barking orders. She said, "I want the personal effects on the plane with us, non-negotiable. Jim says we have to take off at 6:45, non-negotiable. Let's go." Okay, it's 7 a.m. Let's do some editing here. If this crazy phone will cooperate. Be patient with me because let me pause. Okay. Now, if I can get this editing done, we'll be done, okay? I promise. Okay, so obviously we got a big mess to clean up here. Oh, phone, stop, please. Don't keep doing that. Pause again. Okay, now so it's 7 a.m. and JR is having breakfast with his Uncle Carl and Aunt Donna. And Carl's doing most of the talking here. We asked Connor, and Aunt Donna says, "We've asked Connor to pack your things. You're going to the ranch this weekend. Amy Kathleen will be there to help you comfort Christine." And Gerald's like, "What's going on?" And Carl is like, "Well, Aunt Eunice passed away." He said, "You remember Eunice? Your dad used to send you to her to get your shots, and as a reward, she'd give you those aluminum Red Scout containers of information that she had." And so she said, your dad's on the way to Fort Worth to help Dave, like for final arrangements. He said, "I know you remember Aunt Eunice." And Gerald's like, "I remember the Red Scouts. Through her, I found out about them." I told Daddy I wanted to join. And he said no. And he said, Uncle Carl says, well, it's because our father was a Red Scout. And your dad says Red Scouts were just for wimps. And he said, let me tell you something. I don't want you to believe everything your dad tells you. Okay, so it's 9 a.m. Jim and Betsy arrive at Fort Ellis Funeral Home, where Jim and David found each other hugging and weeping bitterly. And Uncle Jim, Jared's daddy's uncle, says, she's gone better. They got that, boys. Just like Esther. And, okay, Jim's kind of getting kind of angry. Don't remind me of Esther. And he says, and this is JR. Yeah, I had just found out that Aunt Esther was willing to sell Daddy her 100-acre estate outside of El Paso. Daddy knew the place had tied to Grandma Hendricks. So he privately and gruffly said no. He did ask for and got her booking business. Well, JR, it's now part of J.R. Hendricks Empowerment. Okay, so we move on. It's 11 a.m. Jim is in Fort Worth. He's on the Andrew House show. And Betsy, she's out shopping, for a white dress for Aunt Eunice. Similar to Christ, men and women, when they're being buried, they're placed in white. JR was advocacy leadership's leadership class, and one of the causes Dr. Harmon's lecture 9 is about clean water. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. And so as his father is back on the plane to Baton Rouge with his mother, JR and Ken stop off at a Wiener Schnitzel in Seminole, Texas. Ken was coming to the ranch for Friday before going to see his sister Charlotte on Saturday. Okay, so now it's 3 p.m. Return to the ranch. Fabian took JR and Ken's baggage. They were just change out the clothes, ditch out of the clothes, and get suited and get in the pool. Okay, so now it's 7 p.m. Jim and Betsy, Jack and Lucy Robertson, and Jim's cousin Robert Jr. and his wife Martha are having dinner together. And Robert Jr., he's like, I can't believe how powerful you are. And Jim's like, power's nearly dead to me, kid. And so Jack Robertson, and so Robert Jr. says, be careful, Jim. Be very careful. And so Jack Robertson stood up and he speaks. So he says, I think Cousin Jim knows that he's taking a break because the power is getting to his head. He just can't trust Bill Clinton anymore. Okay, so it's 11 p.m. JR arrives at the Swainfield Ranch, having dinner with Ken and Kentucky Bill. It's raining outside. And Christine's like, And she's like, well, Gerald, what brings you back this late? And Christine said, and Gerald's like, I need to drive to clear my head. Where's Amy Kathleen? And Christine says, well, she went upstairs to go to bed. And Gerald's like, Christine, I got something to say. I know that this nefarious blogger has been bothering you. I know he's Jennifer's fiance, and I'm sorry about what you went through. And so Christine pours a glass of wine as Gerald's throwing. He's throwing some grape juice. And I'm thinking Christine's like, oh, how do you know, dork? And she's like, okay, yeah. And then Gerald, he's like, I don't care. So he takes out the wedding invitation. He unwraps the cellophane and everything. And he says, you see this? And she's like, oh, yeah. And he tosses it in the fire. He says, well, I don't care. He says, no one harasses me and mine. And that includes Hendricks foods and Nicodemus foods. Because he removed it from the cellophane, okay? And he's kind of, Gerald, pull me on this. I'm sad to have to make a decision like this. Because it was a roaring fireplace. Let's go ahead and just give John Henry the bell. Save us more trouble. We'll do that. We give John Henry the bell. And picture this. J.R. throwing the wedding invitation into the fire and drinking his grape juice picture. With that, I give this episode a good solid 4.2 root beers. A letter from John Henry. Because one thing we failed to mention, on the 20th, Christine had gone into John Henry's old hotel room that he checked out. And there's a letter from John Henry, 4.2 root beers, and a night at the old Swainfield Ranch, before it got remodeled after Jim's death. JR? Well, I'm going to give it a 4.5 root beers. A ride to the ranch in Kim's old 1993 Jeep pickup. And might I say, one piece of Aunt Eunice's personal effects. Okay, hope you enjoyed listening. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and become a part of the adventure. This is the James Hendrick Empowerment saying until next time, get ready for the rest of the story. It gets a little bit more interesting but bumpier from here.